Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to Tony Commander J.R. Galpohkpa Chesson talk show. Today is the 25th day of the second month of the new year. Happy Black History Month. Let's get into my lesson. I have my 3 topics as usual. Today's topics: Mark Zuckerberg's involvement in Trump's insurrection. 2, Liberia legislature's National Election Commission's contempt of legislature. Contempt of legislature charge and attempt to jail commissioners. And 3rd, Liberia's rule of law. Okay, let's get into my topic. Mark Zuckerberg's involvement in Trump's insurrection. You know, from the time Mark Zuckerberg started doing suspension on my shows, I don't know about other people, I'm talking about my shows, when he started suspending me for things that are against his community rules, and when I say stuff, he punishes me for it. But yet and still, he has people like Donald Trump. He has people like these QAnon and all these conspirators on Facebook, and he's not punishing them. He's not punishing them. My topic is educational. He's not punished me. I have a program for kids too. This whole program is for kids. So I use only the words that our leaders use. Because if our leaders can use words in the public and it's published on the news, is published on Twitter, it's published on YouTube, and also on Facebook, it becomes legitimate to use at any occasion. So here we are now. I'm doing a kids program. I read the other people posts. Some of those posts are not what we need for a new Liberia. Many of our people know that our Constitution and our laws basically have no precedence when it comes to punishing our leaders. So everything we rely on is from the United States of America. So when it comes to our constitutional issues, instead of implementing the laws and constitution of Liberia, we fail to do that. Even our educated people. But yet and still, we point to America as the leader of law, justice, civilization, punishment of criminals. So when we do all of that, and we see people like Mark Zuckerberg punishing me because I said people are useless, punishing me because I'm challenging people and telling the ideas are wrong. And people reporting me all the time. Why? Because Liberia is a tribal nation. Liberia is trying to get rid of people like me for no reason at all. Well, they need people like me to educate my country. So yeah, all these people come here and spew the ignorance, the lies, the confusion of our laws and our system. And from time and again, Mike Zuckerberg has been punishing me for commenting on other people's stuff. Not any rule of mind breaking with my talk show and all of that. But he can't use his ideas of rules for kids to reflect on our societal ideas and issues and problems we face for our wayward, our lost, and our desolate children. So how do we reach to those people, children? Do we reach to them at the state they are and try to raise their consciousness to the facts around them, to the realisms around them? We can't come to our young people who are ignorant, who are prone to follow individuals, who are tribalists, and do not see themselves as patriots of the Republic of Liberia, where everybody in our society fighting to lead our country, and we can't have every tribe leading our country. So we must come to some conclusion of the treatment of Facebook toward our society. Yes, we can have laws to go on violence, hate, and all those kind of things. But the words Zuckerberg applies to his rules are deceitful, are lies. And in my view, to punish black people. Because most of those rules of Facebook are geared toward the white society and geared towards the educated society, geared toward the society that doesn't want to hear nothing that will confuse them now because they have messed up our democratic system so bad. Congress is trying to fix it now. Biden is having problems fixing it because these people have lost their consciousness of what it means to be American. Now they think to be American means to be on Donald Trump's team, following the great leader. And that's not where our Constitution should be taking us. After years of civil rights, human rights, constitutional rights, denial to black people, why you think we don't have an educated community now of black people? Why you don't have a mass educated community? And I'm not talking only about African Americans. I'm talking about immigrant Americans, people like me. I'm a first-time immigrant from my country and my family. So I'm in this strange country. I'm educated, come here to learn and further my legal acumens and education and training and understanding the advancement of my choice of law enforcement. Everybody in Liberia My family is not only the legal family. My family is a law enforcement family. And I'm the only one out of my family or out of my people who really took to policing. So it was shocking even to my father. So we have a different culture. Our people have been through wars. Our people have been and still are in a culture of violence, in a culture of lawlessness, in a culture of unpatriotic people. So how do we deal with these things? When Mark Zuckerberg is punishing us for trying to reach to our children and trying to dispel some of the lies and treacherous statements of people who have ripped our country off for years and want to come back. Who want to come back after they have left with impunity, criminal impunity. They left our country. Now the new administration is coming back. They too want to return to begin a new reign of unconstitutional, petty stealing, killing, and destruction of our constitutional democracy. So there's a conflict here. Now Congress is even talking about investigating Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg for his involvement in an insurrection, using Facebook as a conduit for terrorist groups communicating with each other, plotting, planning, using social media as a stepping stone to deceive the American people, to lie to us, to spread false and untrue messages. And all these things hurting us, me and my people. So we use Facebook to reach out to our people, to conscientize our children of their plight, of their need to become conscious of their own lives. And Mark Zuckerberg is here punishing people for that. You know? Punishing us, silencing us, using the rules on us. But the people who are the real enemies of America, he's colluding with them, promoting their site, promoted Donald Trump all through with his un-Christian and un-American way, insulting way, hateful way. He kept Donald Trump on the air until after the election. So this was all planned. And he even kept them on until the insurrection. And after. So now Congress is looking at all issues of racism, of all issues of race supremacy, all of these issues that border on Donald Trump's incitement to insurrection against the United States of America and the people of America. So here we are now. The very man that promoting hate, the very man that promoting insurrection, the very man who is a racist, won't take our right and punish us just like they have done for 400 years. Use the law, their law, to punish us. And our people don't even know this. I've been complaining about this racist Mark Zuckerberg. And he has suspended me before. He always suspended me. And I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. There's a difference between truth and hate speech. There's a difference between quelling violence and perpetrating hate in my community that Zuckerberg is not aware of. Because instead of learning our culture and our impoverishment and enslavement and our need to be risen from our poverty, from our deception and lies and treachery, instead of they helping to help us, Mark Zuckerberg, one of the racists, trying to shut us up still. A young man like that. But and that's why I call him a dummy too. He's a dummy. And Congress need to investigate Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg for insurrection, for supporting people against the United States of America and hate. That's hate. What do you think Donald Trump and these people spewing around here? Hate. And Mark Zuckerberg is perpetuating and punishing black people. So let me move to my second lesson. That's my first lesson with Mark Zuckerberg. I spent 16 minutes on it. So let me get into the second part so I can, which is my shorter. So we can get into this Liberian issue. Right now, people like Mark Zuckerberg and the haters of black people are trying to prevent our people from getting the much needed financial support we need and have needed since enslavement to raise ourselves to better standards and mainstream Americanism. So we have been denied so long, man. So damn long. And it's time now that for real constitutional democracy, law and order, justice, police reform to exist in the United States of America. Not only police reform and education. Not college education either. Racial education. Racial sensitivity education. This is thing they're used all the time. So we need to reform the police. And not only reform them, but educate them. And that's why in my posting and thing, I've presented a proposal for honoring George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. Because we have to honor the death of an innocent man before proven guilty, being squeezed by another man to take away his life. Got his knee on his neck, squeezing it, pushing it down to the ground, putting his weight on it, and the whole world looking at it. The whole world looking at it. And we think that is 16-year-old, that is a college student who recorded it and put it on social media. She's a hero too. She's brave. Because now look at her threatening her life. Trying to intimidate and put her in fear of going out in the public. These are the things we're suffering. And how do we stop that? Police reform. But before police reform, going hand in hand with police reform, not before, going hand in hand with reform must be the economic viability for black people to have opportunities to rapidly excel financially in this society because of the centuries of harm that have been done us. So here we are again fighting to save Black society, Black people, Black Americans especially. We're trying to fight. We're trying to fight as we have been fighting since the 1700s for our constitutional, legal, and binding rights as equal citizens of the United States of America. Nobody in slavery no more. We can't continue to be afraid of white racists and race supremacists who have kept us enslaved forever. And also, we have to motivate and further encourage and push white Democrats because they have been sitting afraid for their own lives against the racists and haters and landowners of the United States of America. So the nouveau Americans, the Democrats, who have been with the Black society and pushed and uplifted and strengthened by the Black community, Black and colored communities. Now, here we are with people trying to destroy it, trying to keep us in the same state we have been, the same economic and social state we have been in from time immemorial, the flip-flopping of the laws, changing it where it benefit them, and changing it again to punish us. But because of our ignorance of the law, because our ignorance of understanding that we have to gather our own constitutional knowledge of our law. And we cannot be afraid to challenge white judges or any other white man in the United States of America who demonstrates racism, especially ignorant racism and race supremacy against me and my household. Because here we are time again. Share ignorance among these racist white people. Share ignorance. So now we got to turn to our leader. The man who the blacks in the Democratic Party has shown their love and respect to for his support of Barack Obama. His honest and sincere support that caused Barack Obama to be a successful two-term president. So we owed it to Joe, to push Joe to where he needs to go. Because he has proven to us he stands on principles. He stands for change. He stands for a new era in American society. So here we are with Joe Biden, and the racists still trying to stop him from helping us. So my final message is to President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. You people have fought with your lives to keep our democracy and your positions alive. Because of a colored woman being the first female vice president of the United States of America, the racists went nuts. They couldn't comprehend why Joe Biden would pick a minority to be vice president and make all the qualified white women that ran for that position. So it enraged them so mad that a nigger can rise so high and drove them nuts. So Trump became their breeding ground for the furtherance of hate, their breeding ground as the grand dragon of the KKK. We had a racist KKK president for 4 years. Now we want relief. Now we demand relief in American society. And that's why my last recommendation is that Joe Biden sticks to his $1.9 trillion bill. And the senators better damn well vote on that effectively. Our people can remain down. Our people can remain in the slums and the ditches all over the world because Americans in America support people all over the world. Black Americans. Why? Because black people are impoverished all over the world. We have no pride and dignity worldwide. Every little race thing that because their color is lighter than us, they can step on us. And that's got to cease and desist. Because African men are men of God. African men are men of creation. African men have been leaders of the New World Order from time immemorial. And our people have amalgamated. So the hatred for the black man got to cease and desist. Nobody trying to kill white people. A man dressed up like me, do I look like I want to carry a gun around killing white people? The way I'm talking about a renewed American society based on equality, based on freedoms that are guaranteed in our Constitution for our people, as well as all Americans. So Joe Biden got to stand strong now. We're behind him. And we got to challenge these racist Republicans and Donald Trump criminal babies to cease and desist with the lying, with the misrepresentation of the truth, and with the deceitfulness against black people and colored people. The time of the true American people is now. Joe Biden, we're behind you. That $1.9 trillion must not be reduced. There will be no debate that must interfere with the passing of this bill in the Congress. So we stand behind you and want you to know that in the cause of the American people, Aluta! Continue on. Let me take a break and I'll be back with my second lesson.
Soundstripe.
Liberia legislature's NEC contempt of the legislature. This is NEC is a National Election commission. So they held all the commissioners in contempt of the legislature when they summoned them yesterday to present their case before the legislature as to why they did not follow the constitutional provisions as stated in the Liberian revised 1986 constitution. So here we are in a nation with no real precedence of law, with no precedence that impact criminal impunity, that impact the very laws and procedures that the legislature supposed to be defending, protecting, and ensuring that they are implemented, because those are their laws. But when our legislature wants to reform from our lackadaisical legal perspective into a more constitutional democratic government with rules and laws and records, we have to understand that the legislature itself is a problem. The legislature is a problem. And right now, with all those people sitting there, I saw old man Vonnie Dempster and all talking about, hey, they gotta be here, they gotta be here. The lawyers for the respondents gotta be here, they gotta be here. And the respondents are the NEC commissioners. So they call them in there now. Darius Dillon is the light. All the time, Vonnie Sherman has been in the Senate. He has never sought to control the direction of the legal perspective, the legal understanding, and the legal direction for our legislature. He has failed to teach our legislature their responsibility and duties under the law. And here we have a permanent lawyer who made so much money out of his practice. But you see what the problem with American law? When we bring these American lawyers into Liberian society, there's a problem. Because all of them come with American mentality. And they try to impact our legal jurisprudence with American laws, which we have already in our books. So they know when they implement those laws, they can't steal. They can't lie. And they would be doing something that hasn't existed in our society from time immemorial. Punishing corruption. They become the corruptors themselves. Because in the land of the blind, the one-eyed giant leads. All the ignorant people who got in our legislature, Vonnie Sherman should be the leader in that house. But you see, when you come from America with degrees that you only specialize in one area of the law, on the Liberian jurisprudence and legal practice, where everybody got to learn every aspect of the law and know how to plead and implement those laws or fight against their misuse in our court. So we have a different kind of jurisprudence. Though it is based on American jurisprudence, it is not American jurisprudence. It is Liberian jurisprudence. But because we have civil law, similar laws, and where in our laws we have no precedence of things And we need an example of how other jurisdictions, especially America, which shares the same kind of constitutional democracy with us, we use America's jurisprudence in cases where we have no precedents, and in instances where American jurisprudence can be easily amalgamated with our laws, or implemented with our laws, or adopted as some of our laws. So when the lower court is doing an argument before the Supreme Court, and there are no precedents, the lower court will try to set some kind of precedents. They should. Okay? Obviously, the opposition may challenge it and appeal. So when they appeal, the Supreme Court has the opportunity to read those laws, to understand how they have not related to our Constitution, or whether they have related to it or not, and revise the laws so that when the Supreme Court decides on anything pertaining to that case, it becomes precedence and law. But we fail to do these things all the time. And we come here and act like we know the law, that we are people of law. Yes, the old saying, all Liberians are lawyers. Yeah, it may work in some cases, but not in cases where you demand trained and educated legal professionals. Because we're not supposed to be politicians. We are supposed to be people of the law. Especially our government officials who prosecute people, who take people's rights and liberties away from them. They have to be conscious. They have to understand the implication, the application and implementation of our laws and their oversight responsibilities. Because if you don't understand your own responsibility, how will you have oversight responsibility over somebody else? And this is where we are today. Now, yesterday they called all the election commissioners because there has been constitutional delays with the electoral process, especially with dealing with the after-election complaints of the candidates and political parties. So here we are right now. The commissioners have not complied with the law. And everything has time limits to the law. Now, from the time the election ends, people have, the NEC has 30 days to resolve all the complaints. Resolve everything. Do the hearing, do the due process of law, and listen to the complaints, listen to the opposition, look at the evidence, and conclude on the procedural and laws. So when they conclude, anybody got a problem with that? I think you got another 7 days to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now the court, the NEC is operating as a court of record. Court are records where when the case is appealed, all the records from that court are sent to the Supreme Court for review, for analysis, for decision making on them. Okay? The case is not going to start anew. There's an appeal, there has been a decision. Now the Supreme Court is just rendering a decision on the lower court's decision. If you are a court of no records, that means everything that happened in our court, when any complainant appeal from that court to a higher court, say most of our JP courts, all those courts are courts of no record. So when you go in them and the justice decide against you, you can appeal it to the Supreme Court, which is a court of record. So when you appeal from a lower court to a court, you appeal for a court of no records to a court of records. Everything from that court of no records is canceled. The case begins anew because there's no record coming from that court. So the only thing that the court of record can rely on is the complaint itself, because there's no record. So they got to look at the complaint. They got to look at the due process, which is covered under Article 20 of our Constitution, 28. They look at due process. Then they look at the other rights of people and how those rights match with our laws. So you see, the NEC is a court of records. So they got such an amount of time to meet under the Constitution. But here are their complaints. The first thing I will find them for, the only thing I will find them for contempt with is they're blaming the legislature for harassing them, for intimidating them, for misuse of power, for demanding that they live up to the law. And if you accuse me of something you don't know about, I'm going to hold you in contempt. But the second thing they complain about, and the third thing makes sense. One, there's serious violence in those places where they're having those things. There's serious violence. So in order to quell the violence and restore peace and order, the police got to get in there and do it. Look at what happened to Gonglo where they were using the country devil to come in and scare other women and men from voting for her. You know that's unconstitutional right away. You know that. But everybody got to be given the opportunity. And the court is saying can't waste time on that kind of case. Because what you need, you see the country devil coming in town. You got a problem with that. Rule against it. Rule against the candidates that perpetrating the bringing of the country devil into the town. Or if it's a senator or town chief who with the CDC and forbidding other people to exercise their constitutional rights, those are problems. So you decide against CDC right away. Let them go to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court handle that. But you know, there are certain cases you can resolve right away. In certain cases, because of violence, you got to wait. You got to wait because the people perpetrating the violence is government. So you got the people who supposed to be enforcing the law, breaking the law. And then you want to challenge the NEC for not fulfilling the period of election. When the system is broken down, it got to be started from the head. It doesn't start from the tail. And the head is rotten. So the body is rotten. We know that in Liberian parables. If the fish head is rotten, which is George Weah, the whole fish is rotten. It's rotten. So here we are again. All of us know George Weah rotten. How would the Supreme Court, how would the legislature not be corrupt and rotten? But we still have processes of law that must be applied with, mediated, and adjudicated. And here is the only problem with our laws. When the laws are made, if NEC goes up country and cannot have the opportunity to render a viable decision, or from their commissioners in those localities, how will you appeal? How will you appeal? Will you just send the whole case to the Supreme Court to that? That's why the legislature is wrong for holding these people in contempt. Because although the Constitution says, yes, you got to stand by these laws, the NEC is guilty by procedure. So you find them guilty on constitutional procedure, but you give them an extended date, or they will be held in contempt to satisfy, just how the court did to Samoka, Boka Samoka. I mean, Wahini Barney Samoka. That is same thing that they court did to him, the Supreme Court. They held him guilty, but they extended his prison term until he can pay that money back. So they gave him a limited time to pay the money back. Why couldn't the legislature follow that same precedence of the Supreme Court? That was a precedent. You saw that. You know that the people are complaining that there are violence occurring in those areas. So if they have these problems, there's a need for the government intervention. And if the government is untimely in intervening these things so the court can continue its duties, that's a problem. So to rectify that problem and to still hold the NEC accountable because they had this and this time to fulfill it, the government didn't participate in helping it. The government was part of the process. So how do we hold these people in contempt? How can we hold these people in violation of the Constitution when they're trying honestly to do their duties and still trying, in spite of all the violence, in spite of all the fightings, in spite of all the electoral disruption by the same government officials? So how will these people finish their jobs under constitutional mandated time? They can't. And our legislature should know that. Darius Diller should know that. All the people should know that. So you can hold the people in contempt. I mean, it's funny that they said you're misusing your powers. Indirectly, they're correct. They're correct. Because as legislators, you have to understand the laws you are making. You have to understand the laws that you want the executive to implement. And if you failed in your oversight duties and responsibilities of overseeing the activities of the executive, you are just a part of the problem as a whole system. So if you wanted to hold a woman guilty, the commissioner guilty for not meeting up with the constitutional obligations, you could do that and give them an extended period to comply with all these things so the election process can be concluded. So this is where we are now. Yesterday, they tried to put the election commissioners in jail. How you put civilized people in jail? Or intelligent, or dummies. You take intelligent people and put them in jail and let the dummy rule the country. Is this where we're going with civilization and progress and advancement and law and order and constitutional democracy? Not in my book. So these are the things that piss me off. And then again, like I said, finally Sherman got me just shaking my head because he specialized. Yes, he graduated from LU, but he went abroad and specialized. And for since he has been in Liberia, he hasn't practiced constitutional law. He practiced business law and bribing our government officials for his clients. I've heard Fanny being, while I was in law school, I heard Fanny was doing that. Especially, and Fanny helped me too when I started working. There was some contractual issues. I went to Fanny and he told me. And it was good. And I have very high respect for Fanny because despite all the news were going around, there was no proof that Fanny was doing these things. So it didn't matter to me without proof. Being a lawyer, it didn't matter to me. So I went to Fanny for help. And you were very helpful to me. And now to hear that Fanny is one of the main perpetrators of bribery and all these things, there is a serious problem. And I can't respect him no more. I can't respect him because all the rumors have come to roost. The man is corrupt. The man favors foreigners over his own Liberian people. Why? He cashes more. And he can bribe our officials with nothing. I can do it. I can do it. Our people know intellectual people when they see them. They know real Liberian people when they see us. So when we hit the ground, as soon as we start talking, they know from whence we come. And the first thing they say, oh, you're Congo people, you're coming back again. You're Congo people, you're coming to do it. You're coming to take over the system. That's how they used to do before. But now, I listen to Liberians today since I've been talking and telling you Ellen Johnson Sally is the problem of Liberia, and you cannot grow, develop, or improve as long as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her children exist in Liberia with impunity, with criminal impunity for what they did to our country, and still doing, because she's behind George Weah. He's maintaining and supporting her. Nobody says we cannot have leaders in our country after the presidential term who can live in peace and enjoy their retirement. There's nothing to say we can't have that. But we can't have leaders who serve their term and then we come and find out they are elements of the very destruction of our country, depletion of our economy. That's a problem. And when you're trying to punish people without punishing Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the whole system is a deceitful trash of BS. So that's why I stand on Liberian issues. And that's why when people talking and spreading things on Facebook and all the things, you need people who know the law to rectify these people, not only that, and condemn some of the things sometimes. Because who gives these people rights to think they're lawyers and they're not lawyers? They don't seek help from lawyers. You come in with the same Totman thing, so say one, so say all. Jarrell Diller wants to make change. The Constitution is there, but he needs legal advice. He needs legal advice. And we need a strong Supreme Court that will stand for impartial justice, rule of law, and the prospects and pursuits of happiness of the Liberian people. So why do we have to go through all this asinine stupidity time and time again. You better leave those commissioners, give them a time frame to finish their work, and let them go and do it. Okay? If the court needs to intervene in cases where there are violence and the commission is not qualified to subside the violence and continue on with the work, and the police are part of the same opposition parties that are fighting the election commissioners in their counties and in their areas, that's a serious problem. So that means the election commissioner cannot handle the adjudication and rendering of decision of cases in several counties. So here we are again. Here we are again. We need good lawyers. We need impartial justices. We need a judiciary that is so knowledgeable about Liberian law and are willing and ready to set precedents based on our laws, not on foreign laws, based on our laws, so the precedents can be set in our country and we can punish our criminals. That when people steal, they got examples of what our court decided about their actions, their unconstitutional behaviors, their unpatriotic, disloyal behaviors. So here we are again, my people. My class is nearly over. It's been an hour almost. And there were some things I was looking at. I heard on the news recently too. Let me just touch on it before I go on. So I dealt with the constitutional rule of law. I dealt with our legislature being too ignorant to understand constitutional law and its full application, implementation, and oversight. So here we are again in a troubled society that needs Liberians to return home and help. To return to home and help, but to keep themselves in power indefinitely and create situations of mass violence, unrest, and killing in our country, or perpetration of intimidating and fear against the public. That's a serious constitutional violation, a serious constitutional democratic violation of our rules or rule of law. So who can change our rule of law for Liberian people? You see what depending on foreign laws and foreign ideas have done to our society, and you still want to continue it. But to continue it, to change it, our dependency on other people's systems of legality and jurisprudence, we have to set for ourselves our own foundation in our society. Because there are too many opportunities, there are too many unlawful people in our society for there not to be any precedents at all in the courts of Liberia of punishing our official criminals. The only Liberian president that was punished was Charles D.B. King. Why was he punished? Because of international pressure. Pressure from the United Nations. So they had to punish him. But these are the things we're facing. These are the things we're facing. And I don't even know it. That's why I said the only president that was punished, Liberians had no hand in it. We had no real hand in it. The Charles Taylor case, it was taken abroad. So here we are again with the same situation of dependency that leads to ignorance, that leads to our own deaths, that leads to the utter attempts to destroy our democracy and nation. Just like my American people, the time of the Liberian people is now. Attorney Commander Chesson can take you to the well, but cannot force you to drink. Why? I know what you did in slum Liberia today. I ain't putting my hand on your head. So if you got to drink, and I tell you need that and drink, and you hesitate, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
That's right.